A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Thus says the Lord, who opens a way in the sea, and a path in the mighty waters, who leads out chariots and horsemen, a powerful army, till they lie prostrate together, never to rise, snuffed out and quenched like a wick. Remember not the events of the past, the things of long ago consider not. See, I am doing something new. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? In the desert I make a way, in the wasteland rivers. Wild beasts honor me, jackals and ostriches. For I put water in the desert, and rivers in the wasteland, for my chosen people to drink, the people whom I formed for myself, that they might announce my praise. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Have you ever thought of possible things and impossible things? Many people believe in scientific and technological developments so much that they think they can do almost everything. It is true. It is true that things we can do are many, but things we cannot do are even more than things we can do. I do not mean that we should stop developing science and technology, but I mean there are two possibilities. With God, we can do everything, and without God, we can do nothing. The distance between nothing and everything seems to be very far, but also is indeed close to each other. Faith is a bridge to bring closer to each other what is possible and what is impossible. Now Isaiah in the first reading today wants the Israel people to see things will be possible with faith in God. And from faith comes hope. Comes hope for God who can do everything, even impossible things. Now God reminds Israel of things which they thought impossible to happen in the past. Their Passover event, which they are passing through the Red Sea, was impossible for them. They described it like they were dreaming. But it is just a past event, even though it is very glorious, very magnificent, and very pride-worthy. Isaiah tells them to forget it, to remember it not, because God will do another thing similar, but much more glorious and better than the Passover event. God promises them a new Passover event. If in the Passover event God opens the way through the sea and then leads own powerful army into it to show His power with His mighty hands, with His mighty arm, now He also does a similar event in which He will open a way through the desert, make rivers flowing in the wasteland. Again, God is about to do another impossible plan to save not only Israel but also Gentiles. Wild beasts such as jackals and ostriches are the image of Gentiles because they are impure animals. God does not want Israel to think about their Passover event because He wants to direct them towards a better future, not because He does not want them not to recognize what He has done for them. God wants to make a universal deliverance. Now every people, unworthy people, and even sinners will be included into the chosen people. Impossible for Israel, but possible for God. Unacceptable for Israel, but acceptable for God. Israel keeps thinking about their glorious Passover event, but forgets and ignores the universal Passover event, which is done by God in Jesus Christ. Some people like Israel think about the good old days and want to sleep on them, ignoring a brighter future ahead. Some people like the adulterous woman in the gospel think about their misfortune and misery in the past and want to not move on towards a brighter future. Both ignore a better future promised by God. Now, how can we avoid these two extremes? Should we be too optimistic? I suggest that we should be, of course, optimistic, but at the same time be realistic. To be realistic is to put our hope and faith in God, who can do everything, and in ourselves, who can do everything with God. I remember the story back to Boston College when I had a personal meeting with the Dean of the students in School of Theology and Ministry. I told her that we have a tendency to name things impossible or incomprehensible mysteries, while in reality those things are just human phenomena. We can explain them, we can do them, but we prefer not and call them mysteries. We end up with a long list of mysteries in our life. Does everything come from God? Do we want to name impossible things happening in our life? Remember what God promises Israel. There will be a way in the desert, and there will be rivers in the wasteland.
Virgo Maria.